Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we're talking about a common challenge for English learners: how to understand fast English. If native speakers sound too quick or unclear, don't worry, you're not alone. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tips to improve. Let's dive in. Chapter 1: Why does English sound so fast? Many English learners often feel that native speakers talk too fast. It can feel overwhelming when you hear someone speaking English quickly, and you only catch a few words. However, the truth is that native speakers aren't always talking as fast as it seems. Instead, it's the way English is spoken that makes it feel fast to learners. To understand this, we need to look at how native speakers use the language in daily conversations. First, English is a connected language. This means that words often flow together in a sentence, especially in casual speech. For example, when someone says, "What are you doing?" it doesn't sound like they are saying each word slowly and clearly. Instead, it sounds like "What ya doing?" because the words are connected. The sounds blend together naturally when native speakers talk, and this makes the speech sound faster to someone who is not used to it. This blending, called linking, is a key feature of spoken English. Another reason English feels fast is that some sounds are reduced or even dropped in casual conversation. In formal English, you might say, "I am going to go to the store." But in fast, everyday English, this becomes, "I'm gonna go to the store." The phrase going to changes to gonna, and I am changes to I'm. These reductions make sentences shorter and smoother, but they also make them harder to understand for learners. Native speakers don't think about these changes, they happen naturally as part of how they've always spoken. The rhythm and stress of English also play an important role. English is a stress-timed language, which means some words in a sentence are stressed, and others are reduced. For example, in the sentence "I want to go to the park," the words want and park are stressed, while I, to, and they are spoken quickly and softly. This rhythm creates a natural flow that native speakers are used to. However, for learners, it can be confusing because it feels like the speaker is skipping or mumbling some words. Cultural factors also contribute to why English sounds fast. In many English-speaking countries, people value efficiency in communication. This means they tend to speak in a way that gets the message across quickly, especially in informal settings. Instead of saying long, clear sentences, they shorten words and phrases to save time. For learners who are taught formal grammar and pronunciation, this casual way of speaking can feel very different and difficult to follow. It's important to remember that English isn't actually faster than other languages. All languages have their own unique rhythms, sounds, and patterns. For example, someone learning Spanish or French might feel those languages are fast too, especially if they don't understand the connections and reductions in those languages. The key is to get used to the natural flow of English by listening to it often and practicing how it's spoken. When you start learning English, your brain is working hard to translate and process every word you hear. This slows you down and makes fast speech harder to follow. Over time, as you listen more and become familiar with the patterns of English, your brain gets better at recognizing words and phrases quickly. You don't need to understand every single word to get the meaning of what someone is saying. Instead, you start to pick up the important words and the overall message. In summary, English sounds fast because of how native speakers link words, reduce sounds, and use rhythm and stress in their speech. It's not that they're speaking faster than other people, it's just the natural way the language works. By understanding these features and practicing your listening skills, you can train your ears to keep up with fast English. It takes time, but with practice, you'll find that what once sounded impossible becomes much easier to understand. Chapter 2: Build your listening skills. improving your listening skills is one of the best ways to understand fast English. Listening to native speakers can feel hard at first, but with regular practice, it gets easier over time. Listening is a skill, and just like any skill, it needs daily practice to improve. The more you listen, the more you will understand how English is spoken naturally. When you are just starting, it can be helpful to listen to slow English. There are many podcasts, videos, and audiobooks created for English learners. These resources often use simple sentences and a slower speed. Listening to slow English helps you hear each word clearly. You can practice recognizing new words and phrases without feeling stressed. Over time, your brain will get better at picking up the sounds of English. Listening to the same audio multiple times is also a good way to improve. The first time you listen, you might not catch everything. Maybe you understand only the main idea or a few key words. That's okay. When you listen again, you will notice more details. Each time you replay the audio, your understanding gets better. This method works well because it helps you focus on what you missed before. As you improve, you should try listening to real-life conversations. These include interviews, TV shows, YouTube videos, and vlogs. Real-life English is different from the English in textbooks. People speak faster, use slang, and connect words. It might feel difficult at first, but it's important to get used to how English is spoken naturally. Start with topics you enjoy. For example, if you like cooking, watch cooking shows or videos. If you enjoy sports, listen to sports interviews. When you listen to something you like, it's easier to stay focused and motivated. Background listening can also help you. This means playing English audio while you are doing other things, like cooking, cleaning, or exercising. You don't need to understand every word. The goal is to let your brain hear the rhythm and flow of English. Even if you are not paying full attention, your brain is still picking up patterns and sounds. Over time, this helps you get used to fast speech without feeling pressured to understand everything. Another important tip is to focus on understanding the general meaning, not every word. When native speakers talk, they don't always use perfect grammar, and they might mumble or skip words. If you try to understand every single word, you will feel frustrated. Instead, listen for key words and phrases. These will give you clues about what the speaker is saying. For example, if someone says, "Yesterday, I went to the park, and it was really nice," the key words are yesterday, park, and nice. Even if you don't catch every detail, you still know they enjoyed going to the park yesterday. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Learning to listen to fast English takes time. At first, it might feel like you are not improving, but that's not true. Each time you listen, your brain is learning something new, even if you don't notice it right away. Celebrate small successes, like understanding a sentence you couldn't understand before or recognizing a new word in a conversation. A great way to build your listening skills is to combine listening with reading. Use subtitles or transcripts when you watch videos or listen to podcasts. First, try listening without any subtitles to see how much you understand. Then, watch or listen again with subtitles to check what you missed. Reading along with the audio helps you connect the sounds of words to their spelling and meaning. This is especially useful for words that are pronounced differently from how they look. Listening to songs in English is another fun way to improve. Choose a song you like and listen to it many times. Look up the lyrics and sing along. This helps you practice the rhythm and pronunciation of English. Songs often use informal language and contractions, so they are a great way to learn how native speakers really talk. In summary, building your listening skills takes daily practice and patience. Start with slower audio, listen to real-life conversations, and use subtitles or transcripts to help you. Focus on understanding the main idea, not every word, and don't forget to enjoy the process. The more you listen, the easier it will be to understand fast English. Chapter 3: Learn linking and reductions. One of the biggest challenges for English learners is understanding how native speakers connect their words. When you read English, every word looks separate. However, when people speak, the words often blend together. This is called linking. It's a natural part of English, especially in casual conversation, and it can make sentences sound very different from how they look on paper. Linking happens when the last sound of one word connects to the first sound of the next word. For example, the phrase "I'm on it" might sound like "I'm on it" when spoken quickly. The words are not pronounced separately, so it's hard to hear each one clearly. Another example is "Do you want to eat?" This can sound like "Dia wanna eat?" The linking between words makes the sentence shorter and faster, but also harder to understand if you're not used to it. In addition to linking, native speakers often use reductions. Reductions are when certain words or sounds are shortened or changed in casual speech. For example, the phrase "going to" becomes "gonna," and "want to" becomes "wanna." These changes happen naturally in fast English because they make it easier to speak quickly. Another common reduction is "did you," which often sounds like "didja." While reductions make conversations flow smoothly, they can confuse learners who are expecting to hear each word clearly. Learning linking and reductions is important because they are used in everyday conversations. You might have learned formal English in school, where every word is pronounced clearly and correctly. But in real life, people rarely speak that way, especially in informal settings. Understanding how words connect and change will help you keep up with fast speech. To get used to linking and reductions, start by listening to examples and repeating them. Shadowing is a great way to practice this. Shadowing means listening to a short piece of audio and trying to say it at the same time as the speaker. For example, if you hear someone say, "I'm gonna go now," try to repeat it exactly as they say it, including the linking and reductions. This helps your mouth get used to the way native speakers connect words. At first, it might feel strange or difficult, but with practice, it becomes easier. Another way to learn linking and reductions is by focusing on common phrases. Many everyday phrases in English use reductions, so practicing them can make a big difference. For example, phrases like "what do you mean?" often sound like "what do you mean?" or "how are you doing?" sounds like "how you doing?" By practicing these phrases, you'll start to recognize them when you hear them in conversations or on TV shows. It's also helpful to watch videos or listen to audio with transcripts. Read along as you listen and look for examples of linking and reductions. Pay attention to how the words change when they are spoken. For instance, in a transcript, you might see "I don't know," but when you listen, it sounds like "I dunno." Highlight these examples and practice saying them out loud. This will help you become more familiar with the natural patterns of English speech. Songs are another fun way to learn linking and reductions. Many song lyrics use reductions and connected speech because it fits the rhythm of the music. For example, in a song, "I want to love you" might sound like "I wanna love ya." Listen to your favorite English songs, read the lyrics, and try singing along. This not only helps you learn how words connect, but also improves your pronunciation and rhythm. It's important to remember that linking and reductions are not mistakes or bad English. They are a natural part of how native speakers communicate. Even in formal settings, people still use them because they make speech flow more smoothly. As a learner, understanding and practicing these features will make it easier for you to follow conversations and sound more natural when you speak. At first, linking and reductions might seem like a completely new language. It can be frustrating to hear a sentence that looks simple on paper but sounds completely different when spoken. However, with time and practice, your brain will start to recognize these patterns automatically. You'll find that sentences you once struggled to understand now make sense, even if they are spoken quickly. In summary, linking and reductions are key features of fast English. They make speech sound natural and smooth, but they can also make it hard for learners to understand. By listening to examples, practicing common phrases, and using tools like transcripts and songs, you can train your ears to hear these patterns. Over time, you'll become more comfortable with connected speech and better at understanding fast English. Chapter 4: Use subtitles and transcripts. One of the most effective tools for improving your listening skills is using subtitles and transcripts. When you are learning English, trying to understand fast speech can be overwhelming. Subtitles and transcripts give you the support you need to bridge the gap between what you hear and what you understand. They act like a guide, helping you connect spoken words to their written forms. This can make a big difference in how quickly you improve your listening comprehension. When watching a video or listening to a podcast, start by listening without any subtitles. This allows you to focus on the sounds and rhythm of the language. At first, you might not catch everything. And that's okay. The goal of this first listen is to understand the main idea. Pay attention to the tone of the speaker, keywords, and overall context. Even if you miss some details, try to get the general meaning of what is being said. After your first listen, turn on the subtitles or read the transcript. This step helps you see what you missed. Subtitles show you the exact words the speaker is saying, while transcripts allow you to read along at your own pace. As you watch or listen again with the text, you'll notice how words are pronounced and connected. For example, you might see the phrase "did you go?" in the subtitles, but hear it as "did ya go?" in the audio. Recognizing these patterns will make it easier for you to understand similar phrases in the future. Repetition is key when using subtitles and transcripts. Listen to the same audio several times, with and without subtitles. The first time you listen, you might only understand a few words or phrases. The second time, with subtitles, you'll notice more details. By the third or fourth time, you'll start to anticipate what the speaker is going to say. This repetition helps your brain process the sounds of English more quickly and accurately. Another benefit of subtitles and transcripts is that they help you build your vocabulary. When you hear a word you don't know, you can check the subtitles or transcript to see how it's spelled. Look up its meaning and write it down in a notebook. This makes it easier to remember and recognize the word the next time you hear it. Over time, you'll build a mental library of words and phrases that will make listening to English much easier. Using subtitles also improves your pronunciation. As you read and listen at the same time, you can practice saying the words out loud. Pay attention to how the speaker stresses certain words or syllables. Try to copy their rhythm and intonation. This will not only help you understand fast English but also make your own speech sound more natural. It's important to gradually challenge yourself as you improve. At the beginning, it's fine to use subtitles in your native language. This helps you understand the meaning of the content without getting frustrated. However, as your skills grow, switch to English subtitles. Reading in English while listening in English forces your brain to think in the language. Eventually, try turning off the subtitles altogether and rely only on your listening skills. This step can be difficult, but it's an important part of mastering fast English. Transcripts are especially useful for podcasts or audio without visual cues. When you listen to a podcast, It can be hard to follow because you don't have facial expressions or body language to help you understand. A transcript gives you a written version of the conversation, making it easier to follow along. You can also pause, rewind, and read parts of the transcript that you find difficult. Over time, you'll notice that you rely less on the transcript and understand more just by listening. Using subtitles and transcripts is not only about understanding individual words but also about recognizing patterns. For example, you might notice that certain phrases, like I'm gonna or what's up, appear often in casual speech. By seeing these phrases in context, you'll learn how they're used and become more comfortable with them. This makes it easier to understand similar sentences in the future. It's also helpful to practice writing down what you hear. After watching a video or listening to a podcast, try to write a short summary of what was said. Use the subtitles or transcript to check your work and see if you missed anything. This exercise improves both your listening and writing skills. It also helps you remember the content more effectively. In summary, subtitles and transcripts are powerful tools for improving your listening skills and understanding fast English. They help you connect spoken words to their written forms, build your vocabulary, and practice pronunciation. Start with subtitles in your native language, then switch to English subtitles, and finally try listening without any subtitles. Be patient with yourself and practice regularly. Over time, you'll find that you can follow conversations and audio more easily, even when the speech is fast. Chapter 5: Practice speaking for better listening. Did you know that practicing speaking can improve your listening skills? It might sound surprising, but speaking and listening are closely connected. When you practice speaking English, you train your brain and mouth to recognize the patterns and sounds of the language. This makes it easier to understand native speakers, even when they talk quickly. The more you practice saying the words yourself, the more familiar they become, and the faster you'll understand them when you hear them in conversation. One helpful way to practice is by mimicking native speakers. This is also called shadowing. To shadow, listen to a short sentence or phrase and repeat it exactly as you hear it. Focus on copying the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and tone. For example, if the speaker says, "I don't know what you mean," try to say it in the same way they do. Notice how the words flow together and how some sounds are reduced or linked. Mimicking native speakers helps you understand how English sounds naturally, and it also improves your own pronunciation. Another benefit of practicing speaking is that it helps you recognize common phrases and expressions. In fast English, certain phrases appear often, like "how's it going?" or "what do you think?" When you practice saying these phrases out loud, they become easier to identify when someone else uses them. For example, if you're already comfortable saying "what do you think?" instead of "what do you think?" you'll recognize it right away when a native speaker says it. Practicing speaking makes these phrases second nature to you, so they don't catch you off guard in real conversations. Recording yourself is another great way to practice. Choose a short piece of audio, like a sentence from a podcast or a line from a movie, and try to say it out loud. Record yourself speaking and then listen to the recording. Compare your version to the original audio. Pay attention to the differences in pronunciation, speed, and tone. This exercise helps you notice areas where you can improve. It also makes you more aware of the sounds and rhythms of English, which will help you understand fast speech better. Speaking also helps you build muscle memory for English sounds. Your mouth, tongue, and vocal cords work together to create the sounds of a language. If you've never practiced saying certain sounds or words, they might feel strange or difficult at first. But the more you practice, the more natural they become. This muscle memory makes it easier for your brain to process similar sounds when you hear them. For example, if you've practiced saying gonna and wanna many times, your brain will recognize those words instantly when someone else says them. Another important aspect of practicing speaking is learning to use stress and intonation. In English, some words are stressed more than others, and the tone of your voice can change the meaning of a sentence. For example, the sentence "You're coming with me, aren't you?" has a rising intonation at the end, which shows it's a question. Practicing these patterns in your own speech helps you understand them when you hear them in conversation. Stress and intonation are key parts of English that make the language sound natural and expressive. Practicing speaking can also boost your confidence. Many learners feel nervous about speaking English, especially with native speakers. However, the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel. This confidence translates to better listening skills because you won't feel as stressed or overwhelmed when talking to others. When you're calm and confident, it's easier to focus on what the other person is saying and understand them, even if they're speaking quickly. One way to practice speaking is to have conversations with yourself. You can talk about your day, describe what you see around you, or imagine a dialogue with a friend. Speaking to yourself is a low-pressure way to practice. And it helps you think in English. As you get more comfortable, you can move on to speaking with others, like language partners or tutors. Having real conversations is one of the best ways to improve both your speaking and listening skills. In summary, practicing speaking is a powerful way to improve your listening. It helps you recognize common phrases, understand natural rhythms, and build confidence. By mimicking native speakers, recording yourself, and practicing regularly, you'll train your brain and mouth to process English more quickly and accurately. Speaking and listening go hand in hand, so the more you practice one skill, the better you'll get at the other. With time and effort, you'll find that fast English becomes much easier to understand. Understanding fast English can feel challenging at first, but with consistent practice and the right techniques, it becomes much easier. By focusing on the strategies in these chapters, you'll gradually train your ears to recognize the natural patterns of spoken English. Start by building your listening skills step by step. Practice with slower audio, repeat it often, and focus on understanding the main ideas. Learn how words connect through linking and reductions, which are essential for understanding real-life conversations. Use tools like subtitles and transcripts to bridge the gap between hearing and comprehending, and don't forget the importance of speaking practice. Speaking and listening are two sides of the same coin. As you improve one, the other becomes easier, and over time, your confidence will grow. Celebrate small successes along the way. Every word or phrase you understand is progress. Remember, mastering fast English is not about being perfect, but about becoming more comfortable with the language. With patience, regular practice, and an open mind, you'll find yourself understanding native speakers more naturally and participating in conversations with greater ease. Keep practicing, and soon, fast English will no longer feel so fast.